All right. This evening we're going to be talking about the Kickstarter Like Father, Like Daughter. And it was just kind of scrolling through the different projects on Kickstarter, kind of caught my eyes. I think I may have seen it somewhere on Facebook, and I signed up for the launch party. And then I emailed the creator to see if she would be willing to come on and talk about the Kickstarter. And uh, I'm glad to help promote it. So let me just bring her in, and we'll get started here. Good evening.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How's it going?
Going well. In the mix of this Kickstarter, so like all you think about is Kickstarter all day long. But I love it, and it's been doing great, and it's been awesome talking to people and just sharing the love for comics and Kickstarter in general. It's been really cool to just see that community grow year in, year out.
Yeah. So before we get started talking about the Kickstarter, do you remember the first comic book that you read, or the one that kind of caught your interest and made you want to check out more of them?
So I started reading comics when I was very little because my dad actually read comics to me. So I don't remember the first one he read, but I remember it was an action comics like Silver Age, like Superman book. And then like the first one I read, I think was a Spider-Man book. I think it was like a 90s Spider-Man book, probably like, a very throwaway story. But it's interesting because I got into comics with DC and then in like 2002, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies came out. I was young, I was in second grade, and I really liked those movies, and I liked the shows we had, and there was a lot of DC shows as well. But I grew into Marvel, and then in eighth grade or so, I started getting a pull list, and then grew to like indies and DC and Marvel and everything, and really see there's great things from every company.
Now, do you follow like do you follow create certain creator, or do you just follow like a title?
I would say a little bit of both. Like there are certain characters I'll always pick up, like Spider-Man being one of them, or Runaways, or Power Pack, or Batgirl. Those are
Mhm.
books like I'll always pick up no matter what. And then yeah, there are certain creators that no matter what, I'll at least try out their issue one. I don't know if I'll be like if I don't like the story. I don't know if I'll continue all the way just because of a creator. But I'll definitely pick it up because of a creator. Like Tom DeFalco is one of my favorite writers. I think Tom Taylor does a great job. Sam Humphries is a great creator. Gail Simone. So there's definitely a laundry list of creators where I'm like, oh, okay, they're on it. I gotta go
Mhm.
check this out.
So let's besides had being a indie creator, you also are into comics journalism. You want to talk a little bit about that and kind of how you got steered, and how that kind of caught your, I guess, interest. And because from looking at your profile, you're very involved in different areas of comics.
Yeah, so I went to college for communications and I had a minor in journalism and because I did YouTube in high school, so I still do YouTube for comics and I realized, oh, so that's like kind of part of journalism and you could learn to like be a journalist. So I just, I saw that I really liked journalism and throughout college I also learned I like creative writing, which is why I write comics and I wanted to be a writer. But yeah, journalism was an easier path. So to like start out my career and make money, I did journalism and easily figured out my beat being comics and even TV. So in college, I had an internship with TV Guide and New York One, and I when I right when I went out of college, I was like, all right, well, gotta find that job. So I just messaged certain editors and said, hey, do you got any openings? And Newsarama did, and at that time it was just the comic book reviewing side of stuff. And then I did Comic Cons for them, and I did interviews here and there, and that's kind of how I grew to do more for Newsarama. And then I started working for IGN for a little while. I still work for DC Comics, DC Universe. So, you get connected in the web of journalism. When you're in one place, you meet other people and you
Mhm.
find out of other positions, you meet other editors, you get to pitch to other editors. So I had opportunities to do that. But mainly my day job is to work for Newsarama, and also write comics, which is really cool. And it's cool to kind of have the marriage of all that. And then I went to get my master's in TV writing. So yeah, wear many hats and love all of them.
So tell us a little bit, because the Kickstarter you're running for your series like father like daughter is, you've this is what, issue 7,
Yes.
if I remember correctly from the, so tell us a little bit about a little background about the series as a whole, and where the story is as of this point.
Yeah, so the log line, the elevator pitch of the book, it's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. Now we're up to issue 7, so she doesn't totally hate her dad anymore because they get to bond a little bit, and she somewhat figures out why he left. But the big twist of issue 5 was that we found out the real villain was her mom because she works for the KGB. The dad leaving and the dad even having powers, all of it was her and for her job. So we learn a lot about Jessica, who's the mom. And now issue 7, we have an opportunity for Casey to really play being a hero and what that means for her, because that still is the very reason her dad left. She still doesn't want to be a superhero. She's still very reluctant of it, but I definitely, her instincts, very Spider-Man-esque instincts, are kicking in, saying, "Okay, I have to help my dad," because her dad was kidnapped in the previous issue. Doesn't have his powers right now, which is very interesting. So we're seeing a man named Invulnerable, not invulnerable anymore, emotionally or physically. Now it's kind of up to Casey to save the day, who's never saved the day ever, and again doesn't want to do this.
Mm. And what was inspired you to write, a comic book, with this type of heroine?
Oh man, so I wrote this as a screenplay actually originally when I was in college, and at that time there wasn't a lot of like family stories, not a ton of character driven stories, I would say, in the mainstream. So I really wanted to tell something that was just completely on its head about superhero storytelling. I say this is more a superhero drama than a normal superhero comic. It really is dealing more with the family stuff, and the superhero stuff kind of goes to the side. Obviously, there's still superhero action, and it still is a superhero comic, but it's not our first priority. I would say our first priority is the characters and their emotions they're going through because of the superhero things going on in the background. And yeah, I just thought that'd be kind of different to tell in comics, especially at that time, and continue to love telling those type of stories.
So, who are the creative team that is working with you on this issue? Are they the same ones who have worked with you in the on the past issues? And how did you, kind of get connected with them?
So originally, I worked with a publisher called Short Fuse. I published my comic myself now, since issue 6, but they connected me with Wayne Brown, who is the artist for the book, and he's still the artist for the book. He brings a really nice cartoony, I wouldn't say 90s art because I don't want to say that, but he brings kind of like a the old school style, which I do like. And it's very expressive with his artwork, and he also lands um, comedy really well. So he's our artist. Our colorist is Lisa Moore, who joined us last issue. I love her color. She works for Garfield, and she has her own comic, Secrets of the Willamette. She's a good friend of mine, and her husband, who is a really, really good friend of mine, Brant, Brant Bowler joined lettering for the book. He actually has a Kickstarter going on right now for Last Ember. He's the writer for that book. They both have their own publisher with Last Ember Press. So they're great. I love them. I talk to Brant every day, and it's really cool to work with your friends. And Wayne has become my friend throughout this 5-year journey, and it's been fun to just talk and bounce off ideas. So it's cool that we, it's kind of like a little comic book family. That doesn't happen with every project. Some projects are short, or you just kind of get down to business. But like Father Like Daughter is special, and it's cool that we all have that relationship.
And so, sorry, I thought my mind just went blank. Give me.
It's cool. No worries.
So let's talk about what you have for the Kickstarter that if people decide to back, then they can get us rewards.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool rewards for this one. So just for $1, you can get. Oh, and I just saw there's another backer. When I last checked, we're so close to hitting the goal. But yeah, so $1, you get digital comics right now. We're at 188 backers. If we get to 200 backers, you get another indie book. I will say, by the end of this campaign, if we hit all our stretch goals, you're gonna get like 20-ish free books. So like over 20 indie books. They're all really good indie books. Some are from like Action Lab. These are like big indie hits that the creators were generous enough to offer for this campaign, and you literally only have to pay $1 for it. And then all the other backers get it as well, so it's not just the indie bundle. Every tier gets that indie bundle, because I really want to spread the love to all these amazing projects and all these amazing creators. And again, they were very generous enough to give it. Then you have the opportunity to get issue 7. We really try to keep these issues cheap enough, with still making a profit off the book. So issue 5, $5 is for the digital comic. Printed, we have it for $10. And we also try to keep the variant covers pretty low. $30 for our variant covers. We have 3 variant covers. We have the first ones from Andrew Hunt, who drew Invulnerable. And as I mentioned, he doesn't have his powers right now. He's really emotional. So we got that really pain-stricken Invulnerable. This is the artist who did the concept art for the Suicide Squad movie. And then the next variant cover is by Alina, and she does some really cool like anime styled art. And this is a homage to lofi hip hop music on YouTube, if you've ever seen like the study music. So I wanted to utilize that to make, try to have some more of a teen vibe. This is a teen book, and I think it's cool to have some homages along the way that maybe other comics haven't done. Not just comic covers. And then we have our cover C, our beautiful thumbnail by Paper Cats, where we get to see Jessica, the mom, hiding in the corner, and Casey being a hero, which I really feel like showcases this issue story really well. And then we also have opportunity if you want to back it up for higher. For $150, you get behind the scenes. So you get the script. You get pages that weren't even put into the book. So we have an extra cover we didn't end up using. Wayne ended up making a video of and showing me what the cover was. So we have as much behind the scenes as I could give. Maybe I'll do a video, whatever. Honestly, I'll probably message the whoever backs that category and say, hey, what behind the scenes stuff do you want? So I'm going to try to cater to the people that back it. And then we have the $250 tier, which is our highest. Issue 8. We're gonna spoil it for you. Not fully. I won't give you the big stuff because there's 2 really big things that happen in that issue. But we are gonna give you an early access to, or unless you want to, maybe I don't mind spoiling it for you guys. Like you're giving $250. Like if you want the 2 big spoilers, I'll let you know. But anyway, but the big plan is to give pages early on. So as I get pages and I'm satisfied with the pages, I'll be giving it to those backers and showing what's happening. In issue 8, issue 8 is our biggest issue. It's the end of this arc. It literally changes the book forever. I'm really excited for it. And yeah, it really, I don't think most comics does either of these things. So I'm very excited for everyone to read it. And I wouldn't miss out on that if you have the money for that $250 tier, because you're going to get stuff way in advance, because I have a another crossover book coming out in March. So I'm planning for the issue 8 Kickstarter probably be around summerish. So you have to wait a little while for issue 8. So if you don't want to wait that long, you can back up that. Other than that, there's opportunities to get the variant covers in bundles. There's some good add-ons of my other comic. They call her a dancer, which is about a young woman who's a dancer / assassin. And when she was little, she witnessed her parents being murdered in front of her. Never dealt with that trauma until now. So we have those first 2 issues available on the add-ons. We have some previous variant covers as add-ons. We have a pretty big announcement, I believe, in a week. I'll announce it here. We're going to have an exclusive cover for the Kickstarter. So it's going to be as an add-on. So don't worry if you already backed something up and you want it. There's going to be like 15 copies as an add-on. And then there's going to be 10 as a tier. So it will only be for the Kickstarter. It won't be anywhere else. And it's going to be a foil cover of the thumbnail of that cover, of the Virgin cover from Paper Cats. So we really have a very limited amount. I'll sign it, and I'm going to try to keep it as cheap as I can. So yeah, I hope people get to back that up as well. We have a lot planned for this Kickstarter. As you see, we have a lot of stretch goals, and yeah, I hope that you guys get the support.
So I think kind of as we were going, you were going over that. I think the one thing that also caught my attention about your Kickstarter was the some of the creators you have in your digital bundle. Ellen Grant, David. I always screw up his name.
Paposi.
Yeah, I screwed up his name when I was talking to him. And Russell Nolte. Those are three creators that I have already talked to. So I think that's why your project kind of stuck out in my head, and I kind of thought that if those three creators, which I know put out good stuff, if they're supporting the project, then it has to be a good project worth checking out.
Yeah, thank you. Again, they're so generous, and I've had the opportunity to interact at least with all of them more than once, on more occasions. David actually was my editor at Newsarama for like 3 years. He's the guy that helped me get the job. He was the editor for reviews over there. So I thank David for a lot. So yeah, it's really cool to have so many awesome people on there. We have Jason Inman, who worked for DC Comics and has a great book with his wife, who's working in television now. So we really have a diverse palette of books. Brant's book, who's my letter, is on there. Misconic High, which is doing really well on Kickstarter, is on there. So again, I love this community and just how generous everyone has been, just to support each other and to make this platform even bigger.
Have there been any challenges that you've faced with, trying to put out a book in this? Oh, let's just call it. Well, it is pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic. Really, which is kind of nice to say. There's been other issues with the pandemic, of course, and a lot of negative hits in the comic industry. The comic industry wasn't going on for 3 months, and that made things hard as a critic and a journalist. But as a creator on Kickstarter, actually, I don't want to say helped it. I don't think that's the word, but I do think other people. There's creators who needed to find new avenues to get their books out, bigger creators, and also people during that 3-month gap who still wanted comics and still wanted to support creators. And I feel like a lot of people turned to Kickstarter when the pandemic happened, again, from creators to fans. And actually, in some regards, I think helped the platform. We'll see. I mean, we are already seeing it. Comics are back and people are still supporting Kickstarter. This is the best year Kickstarter's had for comics, and some really big projects have been on there. I mean, David's has been one. We had Scott Snyder on there. We had Boom with Keanu Reeves. So I feel like it's been okay in that regard, which is weird to say. I don't think anything's okay with the pandemic, but I haven't found any struggles with the pandemic with Kickstarter. I can't say the same thing about the industry. I think there's been a lot of struggles, and we see that with comic book retailers. We're seeing that with the companies itself, and sadly, how many layoffs there's been. But Kickstarter is the one place for the creators, but even Kickstarter had some layoffs as well. So yeah, definitely been hard in that regard, but the campaign has been doing well, which I'm happy to see.
So was there anything that maybe you wanted to mention about the Kickstarter that maybe I didn't ask about or give you a opening to talk about?
I think we talked about it all in that regard. Yeah, I just hope you guys can support. We're super close to our goal, and I have plans again after this goal. There's a lot of stretch goals. Like the campaign doesn't end once we reach to 5K. We want to get even further. We want to make this book as bigger and better. So to help support us, I hope you guys get to back up the Kickstarter. It really is the best place to support the creators. Obviously, a lot of these books will be available after the Kickstarter. Hopefully, if we make our funding, which it looks like we will. But yeah, I think that's a big important thing with Kickstarter. A lot of people are just like, oh, I'll get it when it's on the shelf. And Kickstarter literally is the reason why it's getting on the shelf. And if they don't get funded, again, I've been lucky enough to be funded for many of my projects, all my projects. But not everyone is. So if you could support through Kickstarter, even $5, $1, it really does help. And it's the best place to support a creator if they're launching on there. And just know we've worked so many hours and endless hours and endless nerves of emotions, and your dollar or your $5 makes us so happy, and we're so happy for you guys to read the book that we've all worked really hard on.
So is there anything that you're currently reading, and it can be comics or otherwise, that you suggest think people should check out if they're looking for something to read?
Yeah, there's so many books out there. There's so many great comics. A lot of indies this year. I've really been enjoying. I think Seven Secrets from Tom Taylor is really good. Jeremy Hahn has Red Mother, which has been so good. Image Comics has a lot of great books. Stillwater, Scumbag, which I didn't expect. I'm like, oh man, this was really good too. Crossover by Donny Cates was good. And then even Marvel and DC, DC's been rocking it with Batman. There's been some really great Batman stories there. And then Marvel is getting back into the groove. They're getting into their comics, and I'm just excited for a lot of books to return. Like I love Jane Foster. I'm waiting for my Ghost Spider, waiting for my Spider-Gwen to return. So I'm glad things are Power Pack is coming back. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Yeah, there's always a lot of great books, and just get yourself out there. Go to the comic book store and find your new favorite. And support indies, support any book.
So would you like to kind of give a final pitch for the Kickstarter, and I'll definitely include all your social media stuff in the show notes, but if you want to give those out too.
Yeah, so and there's another backer. Cool. At Comic is for Twitter, and pretty much everywhere. I do a weekly comic book review show on YouTube. So if you enjoyed my thoughts on comics, I do this every week. I talk about the comics I've read from that week, and I rank them. And you get to find out maybe a book that you wouldn't have tried. I try to have a pretty diverse palette. So go check that out. We do a comic book podcast every week on Tuesday on Comic Frontline. So if you enjoy lively discussions about weekly comics and comic book news, and very positive comments, I feel like there in the world sometimes there's a lot of negativity. We really try to be critical but positive. So hopefully you guys could go check that out as well. And yeah, for the Kickstarter, I hope you guys could check it out. $1 really helps. Anything, it really helps, and I hope you guys can enjoy the book if you guys do support and are interested.
All right. Well, I want to once again thank you for taking time this evening to talk about your project, and it looks like a exciting book, and I'm definitely going to check it out. So
Thank you.
But if you have anything that you're working on in the future that you'd like to come back and talk about, I'd be glad to have you. But good luck with the Kickstarter. You're almost there.
Thank you. Yeah,
and,
inching closer.
And just stay safe and stay healthy. And maybe one of these days, when if they ever have those things called conventions again, we'll run into each other.
Yes, I do many conventions, so I hope I do.
All right. Well, have a good evening.
Bye, you too.
Right.